So what's the best OtterBox case between the Defender, Symmetry, Universe, Commuter, as well as the Statement? OtterBox cases in general are tough and durable, but they are larger than the average iPhone 7 case that I reviewed, and I'll be honest with you, probably one of the easiest cases to get since you can find them basically anywhere iPhones are sold. So the question is, if you're looking to get an OtterBox case, well, here's the 30-second review. Get the OtterBox Defender if you feel the need to wear your iPhone on your belt and you want to be able to throw your iPhone 40 feet in the air and have it survive. You go with the OtterBox Commuter if you need something slightly slimmer, not as tough, and you still work in relatively dusty environments. The Symmetry is a good all-around case, but the back is kind of slick, so it doesn't handle as well. But that might not matter since you can get custom prints on it. The OtterBox Statement is basically a clear Symmetry with a fancy strip of leather at the bottom that works well with jacket pockets, and the OtterBox Statement basically looks like a clear Symmetry with a fancy strip of leather at the bottom. This works well with, fancy things, I guess. But in all honesty, the OtterBox Statement handles better than the OtterBox Symmetry. So that's the 30-second review. I'll spend the rest of this video elaborating on the pros and cons of the Defender, Symmetry, Commuter, as well as the Statement, and I'll also talk about the Universe, which is this thing here. Now, the OtterBox gets a score of 4 A's out of 5, the Commuter gets 3.9 A's, the Statement gets 3.8, and the Symmetry gets 3.6. But this Symmetry has a custom print on it, which makes it awesome. If you need to see a side-by-side comparison, check out the link in the description section below. Make sure you're on a tablet or a desktop because it's 5 columns and it doesn't fit very well on a mobile device or a smartphone.
Real usage, real reviews. Mobile Reviews A.ca.
At Mobile Reviews A.ca, Monty and I base all the reviews that we do together based on actual usage, which is pretty much the only way we think reviews should be done, but that's just our opinion. And to satisfy our own curiosity, we'll compare the cases against others to give you guys a sense of how each product is different. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each OtterBox case, as well as talk about the OtterBox Universe. Now, first up is the OtterBox Defender. Now, I would call this a staple in terms of tough iPhone cases. I've seen people default back to the OtterBox Defender iPhone after iPhone after iPhone. Now, when it comes to protection, the extra size and multiple layers of the Defender will definitely protect your iPhone from high drops, and the belt clip will ensure that you can easily access your iPhone off your belt. From what I can see, the Defender hasn't really changed over the years, which means the video of me tossing an iPhone 6 40 feet in the air is still relevant in terms of protecting your iPhone 7. Now, despite the tough persona of the Defender, you're going to want to take the case apart every once in a while because dust might become an issue. I'm glad that the Touch ID is now covered, but the dust will accumulate around the camera cutout on the front and back of the iPhone. Now, I'm not too concerned about the dust and debris on the back of the iPhone, but dust and debris on the front that gets caught between the screen and screen protector will cause small scratches on the screen over time, which is sucky. Another downside in terms of wear and tear is that the TPU sleeve will start stretching after a while, and the plugs will get worn and will get torn off easily. Onto the OtterBox Commuter. I've actually had a change of heart on the Commuter. The first version that I had for the iPhone 6 felt like an old sock draped over my iPhone 6. Now, OtterBox tightened up the dimensions on it with later versions, and now the Commuter is a solid version. I've been using the S7s and the iPhone 7s with the Commuters, and I do have to say I've warmed up, as I said before, quite warmly to the Commuter. In terms of protection, I would put it between the OtterBox Defender and the OtterBox Symmetry. In my opinion, the Commuter handles better than the Symmetry because the TPU actually, there's parts that only have TPU, so it's very grippy, whereas in the Symmetry, most of it's just very, very slick. It may not look like much, but the TPU at the bottom corners of the case actually help you pick up your iPhone easier than you would with the other OtterBox Symmetry. It also improves the handling of the case in your palm. Now, the extra protection it offers your iPhone comes at a cost in terms of size. It is bigger than the Symmetry, and the Symmetry itself is pretty big. The Commuter is thicker and wider, and the edges of the screen a little harder to access because, well, the edges are higher. I will note that previous versions of the Commuter seem like a better deal because they included screen protectors. The iPhone 7 version doesn't. Last thing I will say about the Commuter is that dust and debris will have a higher chance of collecting along the TPU-only portions of the case. These portions aren't as rigid and have a bit of give to them, so taking your iPhone out and cleaning out the entire setup might be worthwhile to do every once in a while if you decide to get this case. On to the OtterBox Symmetry, which is the most solid feeling case out of this grouping. Because of that solid feeling, the iPhone feels safer in the Symmetry than the Defender and Commuter. Since nothing comes apart, there's no TPU for me to like poke and pull apart. In my video about the best iPhone cases for moms with Sarah Rimmer, a mommy blogger, she's personally seen her iPhone 6 survive a multitude of throws by her toddler, and so she's very, very fond of the OtterBox Symmetry. As a side note, all these cases aren't drop rated to a mil spec, they were actually drop rated to OtterBox's own Drop Plus protection, which kind of means, well, nothing really. But from my personal experience, they can definitely take a bunch of hits or drops, accidental drops from day to day, you know, shenanigans. The front of the Symmetry handles quite well, so if your hands are large enough to wrap around the case, you'll have a great grip on the iPhone. If you don't, then it's going to slide around a lot. The buttons of the case are fairly easy to use, and the Symmetry comes in many different designs. Most of these cases OtterBox sent me, and they decided to send me this light blue pink one, which looks great. But the biggest selling point of the Symmetry is knowing that I can have a custom printed case that can handle an accidental day-to-day drop. A lot of the custom cases are just thin, flimsy pieces of crud. But if you were to get a custom printed Symmetry, well, you know your phone's going to survive and look awesome at the same time. This custom printed OtterBox Symmetry, this is one of the Snapchat ads that I ran a while back. This is one of the coolest cases that I've seen, mostly because there's an anime version of me wearing a red shirt and an anime version of my gray dog Monty. On the back of this iPhone case, look how cute it is. It's awesome. The biggest downside of the OtterBox Symmetry from my perspective is the slick back. It handles like a wet bar of soap if you don't have a good grip on your iPhone. The edges of the case are a little slick, so picking up your iPhone while it's face down might take a couple of tries. The extra width of the case will also make the iPhone 7 Plus exceptionally large, which might be an issue for some people with smaller hands. Now on to the OtterBox Statement, which is basically a clear OtterBox Symmetry. Kind of. It's got a clear back, well 70% of it's clear, and then at the bottom you've got a piece of leather. And I do believe this is real leather, it's not fake leather, unless they changed it between the iPhone 6 and iPhone 7 versions. But this case, despite the clear back, handles better than the Symmetry. So if you have to choose between these two cases, go and get the OtterBox Statement. If you want to customize your, if the customization is of interest to you, then just print a skin on the back of your iPhone, something from like Decal Girl, and you've basically got the same thing. But the rubber portion of the case actually extends further back, so picking up the Symmetry off a flat surface is easier. The clear back is slick, but because there is a rubber piece on the bottom, the iPhone sits quite well in your hand, and it doesn't slide around easily on the back, unlike the OtterBox Symmetry, which slides around like an air hockey puck. The only downside of this statement is the clear back will scratch over time, despite being marketed as scratch resistant. The size of the case also increases the bulk of the iPhone 7 Plus, so if you got smaller hands, again, you might want to shy away from these OtterBox cases for the 7 Plus or 6 Plus. So those are all the iPhone 7 cases I've had. I'll be honest with you, they are basically the same as the iPhone 6 versions, mostly because the iPhone 6 and iPhone 7 are kind of the same size. I don't have an iPhone 7 version of the OtterBox universe, but I will say that if you're looking for something with a lot of modularity, do check out the OtterBox universe. I've got a Polar Pro Bluetooth speaker on this OtterBox universe, and it's pretty handy. It's pretty neat. As there's battery packs as well as wrist straps. So if you're looking for a relatively tough case that can be very useful if you put enough money into the system, consider getting the OtterBox universe. And for all intents and purposes, the OtterBox universe is basically a OtterBox Symmetry with certain pieces cut out from it. Like, it's incredibly similar. Funny how similar these products are. And I guess kudos to OtterBox for figuring out how to keep production costs low. So if you need more information, again, check out my website. There's Amazon buy links. So if you go to Amazon through my site, I get credit for helping you choose the right case for you. I don't get sponsored by OtterBox. They give me all these cases to review, which is awesome, but they don't pay for any of the time and any of the iPhones that I drop in them. So, you know, awesome that they give me cases, but again, this is very unbiased because I've got a ton of cases to go through and I'm just helping you guys find the best ones. So that's kind of all I got. Monty's been a good boy, so he gets a blueberry. Which means I get a blueberry.